Hi everybody, this is Amy from Star and Splendor. I'm in the meditation space right now because I just got a couple new products in and I thought it might be helpful to do a little demonstration. One thing that a lot of people ask me about is the selection of resin incenses that we keep in the shop. I'm always kind of surprised that more people don't use resin incense because my personal feeling is that it is the richest and most authentic way to take in incense, to use incense. And I just love billowing smoke everywhere for a few minutes. And then I want it to stop oftentimes because it's too much smoke. But with resin incense, you can actually really control the amount of scent and smoke that you get going in your household and in your ritual space. So I like it because I have found that though stick incense is really convenient to use and you know, it's pretty consistent. Like if you find a kind that you like, it'll always be the same. You'll always get the same amount of smoke. You'll always get the same scent. But even with that, I have found personally that even when an incense is you know, it says that it's sandalwood or it says it's dragon's blood, my nose is now trained because of doing perfumery to smell when something is not a natural scent. So what I am finding is that a lot of stick incense, though it may appear to be all natural, once you burn it, it's very obvious. It becomes obvious to me very quickly that it's not a natural scent. I'll start to smell the acridness. There's sort of like a chemical after smell that lingers in the space after you burn an artificially fragranced incense. And a lot of companies will do that. A lot of incense that's made in India and Indonesia will have artificial scents in it because it's cheaper and it creates a much more potent smell than an essential oil or a resin will. And we have, as a culture, become used to the artificial and the amount of scent that we get from that. It's not always healthy. It's not healthy to be breathing in. It's not healthy for children and pets. And so it's worth considering switching over to resin incenses. It's, in my opinion, the most romantic way to scent your house. And the scent really does linger for a long time. So I know a lot of people are not really all that familiar with how resin incense is burned. So I'll just show you like a few things that I do to get resin incense going in my incense burner so that maybe you might feel a little brave and want to try it yourself. And there's so many wonderful resins out there that you can burn this way over a little charcoal briquette. And you can play around and like order lots of different kinds and try to see which one you like, which one you don't find to be as strong, or some of them have more of an edge than others, some are softer. So the first thing is you start with resin incense. You're going to be burning, there's a few major components that you need. You're going to need a burner, and a burner that's safe for heat. So when you're using charcoal, the charcoal is going to get really hot. Think of like a charcoal briquette for your barbecue. It's going to get really hot. So it can't just go on any old you know, ceramic or like metal container. If it goes onto like one of those brass incense burners, that brass incense burner gets very, very hot. So you need to make sure that it has a proper foot and that whatever it's resting on is protected from the heat, because I have had brass incense burners that got so hot, even down on their feet, that they burned like a ring or marks into a wood tabletop. So you don't want to have that happen. So you want to have more, like a lot of heat protection underneath. Sometimes like a candle plate, another plate, or just a burner like this where there's actually quite a lot of foot here. There's a lot of distance between where the coal goes and where it hits the table. So you need an incense burner. Something like this. Open is good. Some of them have a top and it's closed, and they'll make the smoke come out kind of like in a fancy way with like effects. Some of them have like a dragon and there's like a you know, like a waterfall or something, and the smoke may tumble down. Those are super fancy. I don't really need that for my purposes. So the second thing you're going to need is charcoal briquettes. So we sell them like in a little pack like this. There's like maybe, I don't know, 8 or 10 in here. These are smaller style. I also have a larger style, and those, I'll show you one that I have open, are about this size. They're about 2 inches in diameter. This is really big. This is for burning a lot of incense. So like if you're going to be keeping your smoke going for a long time, you might want to go ahead and just like use a whole big briquette like this. But for most people, like we don't need that much smoke. That will make your house really heavily scented. So what I like to do is I like to break these larger size in half and just use like a half of one because it's less wasteful, frankly. You're gonna need like something to light the charcoal with. So like I just have good old-fashioned matches here today, but I actually prefer those long lighters. You know, the ones that are like the fireplace lighter or the ones that you use for your barbecue that have the long metal thing. Love those. Very easy to use with this. I just find that they always stop. They're empty of fuel when I least expect it, and then I'm always high and dry. So I always keep matches alongside my incense kit because you never know when you're gonna run out of lighter fuel. So also tongs are a really good idea. You can do without, but you might burn your fingers a little bit. Your charcoal may not burn as evenly because you might only be able to get one end really going. These are actually surgical. This is like a little surgical piece. It can be anything, any kind of like, you know, any kind of pair of tweezers will work, but the best is what we carry in the shop, which are like tongs. They're proper tongs. So these are great because you can really get a grip and you're not likely to drop things. They also give you a lot of protection for like, sometimes you want to like break up the coal a little bit and move the incense around to like get it going more evenly. And these are really good for that too. It's a little harder to grab at that stuff with these little ends, but this is just what I've been using. I got it dirty and burnt already, so I just keep using it. So I'm gross. Anyway, and then you're gonna need some resin incense, which we carry a bunch of different kinds. And today I'm using copal. Woo. I love copal. It's a really fresh, watery kind of smell. It's it's lovely. It's mild. It's got a slightly lemony kind of scent to it, but to me it reminds me of water. And oftentimes the copal will have like pretty small granules that are really easy to control the amount of incense you are burning. If you start with a large piece, it's going to immediately start giving you a lot of smoke and it will melt kind of quickly, and then all the fanfare will be over. So another thing that I suggest for using with incense is the black sand. So I use a fire safe sand. It's just a silica sand that's made for gas fireplaces and for incense. And so we carry that in these cute little jars that look very Halloweenish. So these are for sale and they're going to be listed on the online shop. But you don't need a lot. So like this is enough for maybe like 3 incense burners, and you will want to change out your sand every once in a while because it'll get like a lot of, even if you flick the spent charcoal and resin out of there, you're going to get like a little bit of dust in here. And when it gets to critical mass, you're going to want to dump it out and start over again. So as you can see in my incense burner, I already have this sand placed in here, and it's a little dusty because I've already been using this, but it's not yet used up, so we're just going to keep going with this. Okay, so when you're ready, you're going to start by either getting your whole or your piece of charcoal out. You're going to grasp it with your tongs. You're going to get your light ready, either matches or your lighter. I'm going to go ahead and be awkward and use the lighter or use the matches. So what you're first going to do is try to get that charcoal lit. So you'll start to see it kind of splintering like that. That's good news. You kind of want that to happen all over. Sometimes it'll pop and sizzle a little bit. Watch out. You may want to not do this anywhere near your bedspread, for instance, because I had an experience with that last year where I didn't realize that a little coal had popped off and singed through a book page and my bedspread. And so now I have a nice little burnt hole in my IKEA bedspread. So you can see that little bit on the end there that's getting kind of bright. Let me put it over something dark so you can see. So that's what you want to start seeing. And you'll see it's still kind of sizzling and snapping, that light there. You want to see that kind of go through at least maybe like 3/4 or all of the charcoal if you can. If it's getting a slow start, I'll kind of burn on it. I'll get a little air over that surface area to help it spread. The idea is you want to get it hot because when you put that resin on there, it needs to be hot to melt. This part smells really good to me. Maybe that's weird. I love it. Just brings back such memories. Smell of burning charcoal. So it's got a good amount of red going on there. So I'm going to put this back into my, I'm putting this into my incense burner now. I like to lay it kind of flat because what I want is for the resin to have the most surface area that's like red and kind of snapping as I can. So don't be afraid to move it around. At a certain point, your charcoal will stop that snapping, sizzling, popping, kind of sparking effect. And we'll just start to get a good kind of cinder effect happening there. And that's when it's time to put incense on there. So you're going to get your little incense packet or jar or whatever you've got going on. And I like to start with maybe like, for just a room, maybe 3 or 4 granules, maybe 5. I don't know, depends on the size. I don't know if you can see, but like here's the amount that I've got. So there's like 5 little granules on here. This is probably going to be enough for me for now. So like if I were using this and I were going to be doing like a whole, if I were going to be in ceremony or in a meditation session that was going to go on for an hour, I want to keep this going a little bit longer. I might pile a little more on and risk it being smoky in the beginning, but it might linger longer. So you kind of have to experiment with that and see what works for you. So how are we doing here? We've got a nice red coal happening, right? And I just moved it, get it back in the center there. So now I'm gonna start putting incense on here and let it smoke. Just getting it right in the middle there, kind of get it to lay flat because that will ensure that you're not knocking those little granules off. All right, so I'm gonna place my incense, I'm gonna kind of spread it out over the surface area of my charcoal a little bit. So we get one end get started right away. And you can blow on it a little bit to really get it going, but you can see already it's got quite a lot of smoke coming off it. And it's very beautiful. It's perfect for scrying. So why use incense? A lot of people like to use sage to smudge their room and their area to clear it of negative energy, to clear the space, to feel better for health. And that's great. And this does the same thing. Frankincense and myrrh will do the same thing. Copal will do the same thing. You might choose different resins based on the properties, maybe the planetary properties, the astrological ones, the association with a particular deity. You might just choose it because you like the way it smells and you feel good when you smell it. And so for that reason, it will work to clear the space. But it's good for banishing negative energy, like, or anything that you might, if you need to like uplift your mood. But it's also really good for kind of waking things to your space, like getting attention on the space, because smoke can be an offering. So I will often do planetary prayers and I will offer the smoke to the deity because it's a really nice, easy way to honor them and sort of, get their attention. Who doesn't like perfume? Natural perfume. So you can see this is going pretty good, and it's actually almost completely melted on there. it'll still smoke for quite a while. So keep an eye on it and add a little more if you like. Our granules that we used were a little, they were kind of small, and copal will melt down and burn down a little bit faster than some of the others. Frankincense and myrrh, especially myrrh, takes a little longer to kind of break down and will smoke for longer. So play around with different ones. One thing to remember is it's not okay to leave this unattended because stuff can happen. You saw that popping earlier. That can continue to happen, and so you want to make sure you don't allow that to happen when you're not in the room, because like there's a rug in this room and there's curtains and things. You don't want to start a fire. So yeah, so that's it. If you love incense, I encourage you to try it this way. It's a little healthier than going with the stick version if there's going to be artificial fragrance in it, and it smells so good. The lingering smell is very pleasant and warming, and it's just great. People will tell you your house smells wonderful all the time. If you burn incense like this, like once or twice a week, your house will get a nice scent to it that people will recognize. But if you have any questions, just get in touch with me. You can email me through the site, shop at Star and Splendor, all spelled out. Or you can message me or comment to me in the YouTube comments or in my blog comments. And I hope you enjoyed this. I might do a little bit more on different kinds of incense in the future. So if you'd like me to showcase anything in particular, we can do like little deep dives, because I'm a real incense connoisseur. I love it. I love it for scrying. I love it for ritual. I love it for meditation. I love it for planetary prayers, all that stuff. I'm into it. And then it makes your house smell great and your shop too. So see you later. Hope you like this.